You know exactly who I'm talking about. That one person who just isn't good for you. Maybe they completely ignore your needs, or maybe they actively bring chaos into your life. And yet, despite all the logic, all the advice from your friends, you just cannot let them go. Why is that? Why does the human mind stay so intensely, almost desperately attached to people, even when they bring us profound pain instead of peace? Well, in this explainer, we are diving deep into the hidden, deeply scientific psychology of attachment. We're going to look at exactly why your brain holds on so tightly and how your ancient biological wiring is secretly controlling your modern relationships without you even realizing it. So, why can't you let go? It's a question that honestly carries so much heavy, unspoken shame. You might be sitting there asking yourself, why am I being so weak? Why can't I just walk away like a normal person? I need you to completely reframe how you think about this right now. The pain of holding on to someone who is hurting you, that is not a personal failure. It is absolutely not a lack of willpower. What you're experiencing is actually a profound biological mystery playing out in real time in your mind. To really understand why you can't walk away, we actually have to stop analyzing your current relationship and start looking at human history. We have to go back, way, way back, thousands of years ago, to be exact. Picture the prehistoric landscape for a second. Our ancient human ancestors were living in incredibly harsh, completely unforgiving environments. In that brutal world, being part of a group meant everything. It meant you had protection from predators, shared food, warmth, safety. But being alone, being separated from your tribe, that didn't just mean you were lonely. Being alone literally meant death. You simply could not survive in isolation. And out of that harsh reality, a deeply ingrained evolutionary rule was born: stay connected no matter what. And here is the crazy part. I need you to understand that this ancient programming didn't just vanish because we built modern cities and started carrying smartphones. It is still hardwired right into your nervous system today. When you form an attachment to someone, your brain isn't just saying, oh, hey, this person is nice to have around. No, your brain is treating that human connection as an absolute matter of life and death survival. We're so conditioned to think that losing a relationship is just sad. Eat some ice cream, you cry a bit. But to your brain's ancient wiring, losing someone feels like a literal threat to your life. Those intense alarm bells that ring in your head, that panic in your chest when a partner pulls away, those are the exact same prehistoric alarm bells that would ring if you were suddenly separated from your tribe in the middle of a freezing wilderness. It is a full-blown survival panic. And this leads us to a truly shocking scientific reality. Heartbreak actually equals physical pain. When you lose someone, or even when someone you're deeply attached to just ignores your text, your brain reacts the exact same way it would to a severe physical injury. If you look at an fMRI brain scan, the exact same neural circuits light up for heartbreak as they do if you were to, say, break your arm. Your body processes the loss of that connection as real, literal trauma. So when people say the pain is all in your head, well, yeah, it is, but neurochemically, it is completely identical to physical agony. Which brings us to a terrifying, but honestly fascinating psychological truth. Your brain, at its absolute core, is just a survival machine. It doesn't care if a relationship is toxic. It doesn't care if this person makes you cry every single night. It only cares that a connection exists. Because to your ancient programming, familiar pain feels infinitely safer than unfamiliar emptiness. Emptiness means isolation, and as we know, isolation means death. So completely instinctively, your mind will almost always choose a painful, toxic connection over the terrifying void of being totally alone. But, not everyone reacts to this survival panic in the exact same way. How you attach to people as an adult isn't just some random coin toss. It is deeply, deeply programmed by your early life experiences. Think of it this way. Your childhood essentially writes the base software code for how your mind handles connection, vulnerability, and the ultimate fear of loss. Based on how you were treated, nurtured, or maybe ignored as a child, you developed a very specific set of emotional defense mechanisms. In psychology, this manifests into 3 main attachment styles. First up, we have anxious attachment. If you have this style, that survival panic we just talked about, it is dialed all the way up to an 11. You basically live in a constant low-level state of fearing abandonment. If a text message takes just a little too long to get a reply, your brain goes into absolute overdrive, dissecting and overthinking every single word. You need constant, tangible reassurance that the connection is still secure, because your internal alarm system is hypersensitive to any microscopic sign of distance.
Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum is the avoidant attachment style. Instead of clinging tighter when the alarm bells ring, your core defense mechanism is to just shut the entire system down. You fundamentally fear getting too close. When someone actually tries to bridge the gap and become truly intimate with you, you instinctively push them away. You hide your emotions. Because for the avoidant mind, safety isn't found in clinging to the tribe. Safety is found in making absolutely sure no one can get close enough to hurt you in the first place.
And then, right in the middle, we have secure attachment. This is where you feel fundamentally safe in your relationships. You trust people, you don't immediately panic or go into full survival mode when a partner needs a little space or when the dynamics of the relationship naturally shift. Now, it is super important to note that most of us are actually a complex mix of these styles, depending on the situation or the partner. But identifying your primary style, honestly recognizing whether your instinct is to anxiously cling or avoidantly run, that is the vital first step to breaking these deeply ingrained prehistoric patterns.
So this ancient history and our early childhood programming, they all crash together into a highly potent chemical phenomenon. Attachment, you see, is not just an emotional experience. It is a profound chemical one. When you connect with someone, your brain isn't just sending you warm, fuzzy thoughts. It is literally pumping out powerful chemicals that radically alter your state of mind. Quite literally, human connection acts on the brain in the exact same neurological way as a chemical dependency.
The absolute main culprit here is a little thing called dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter linked to pleasure, reward, and motivation. It's the exact same chemical pathway that gets hijacked in drug addiction. When that specific person gives you attention, boom, you get a massive hit of dopamine. But when they pull away, your brain enters a very real, very physical state of withdrawal. It begins desperately craving that dopamine hit, creating a physiological urgency to get that person's attention back just to stabilize your crashing brain chemistry. Which leads us directly to an incredibly painful, yet completely scientifically sound paradox. The less someone gives you, the more you want them. When someone is inconsistent with you, say they shower you with attention one day and ghost you the next, it creates what psychologists call an intermittent reinforcement loop in your brain. This makes the dopamine spikes even more intense and way more addictive. You end up exhausting yourself chasing an emotionally unavailable person, totally convinced it's this passionate, intense love, when in reality, it's simply your brain desperately chasing a chemical reward. Okay, so how do we actually use this neuroscience to finally break free? It all starts with one absolutely crucial distinction. You have to clearly, ruthlessly separate true love from biological attachment. True love is inherently peaceful. It feels secure, it's trusting, and it's calm. Biological toxic attachment, on the other hand, is anxious. It is frantic, exhausting, and completely driven by fear. If your relationship feels like you're living in a constant state of anxiety and panic, I promise you, your ancient wiring is running the show, not love. Once you finally recognize that distinction, we can take some real actionable steps to break this biological loop. Step 1 is radical acceptance, accepting that the frantic craving you feel is not love, it's a chemical withdrawal. Step 2 is entirely non-negotiable. You must create physical and emotional distance. The more you stay exposed to this person, the stronger those neural pathways of attachment become. You have to give your brain actual time and space to neurologically reset. And step 3, well, that is where the real healing happens. You must replace the connection. But here is the absolute secret to step 3. You do not replace the connection with a new person. You replace it with purpose, with your goals, with personal growth, and most importantly, self-respect. Remember, your ancient brain is terrified of the unfamiliar emptiness. It literally thinks being alone means death. You have to show your brain that you can and will survive by building an absolute fortress of self-worth. You have to take that immense prehistoric drive for connection and redirect it inward. Because the strongest, most resilient attachment you will ever build in your entire lifetime is the one you build with yourself. If you take nothing else away from this explainer today, please remember this. You are not weak for feeling intensely attached to someone who isn't good for you. You are human. Your brain was flawlessly designed over hundreds of thousands of years to keep you alive by keeping you connected, absolutely no matter the cost. But the true beauty of neuroscience is that once you understand your ancient wiring, it stops controlling you in the dark. You suddenly gain the conscious power to override those alarms. So the next time you feel that heavy, familiar panic rising in your chest, the next time you feel like you physically, literally cannot let go of someone who only brings you pain, I want you to take a deep breath, step back from your biology, and ask yourself this one simple question. Is this love, or is this just attachment?